All right, people, welcome back to another episode on the Big Steph channel. And today, well, first of all, first live stream here on the channel. So it's a big one for all of us here on the podcast. Well, not really for a boy like my 433 press one of the guests we have here today. Very
You know, I'm,
stouted,
I'm a regular.
yeah, very stouted YouTuber covering the Jamaican national team as well as Manchester United. But also here with a friend of the channel who I always talk about, KP. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man. You guys already know.
All right, so without further ado, we all came here to talk about the dire straits going on within the
I think someone took Steph's Wi-Fi. Okay, I'll just take it from here. But yeah, people, seeing that I'm a master at this in terms of like live streams. We're here to talk about Arsenal. I'm gonna talk about Arne Slot as well as Mohamed Salah. I think he wasn't on the Ballon d'Or list, right, KP?
Yeah.
Salah wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't listed on the Ballon d'Or listing or the nomination, we could say. Also, gonna delve into Erik Ten Hag's tenure at Manchester United so far this season. Should he get the sack, or will he be the first manager to be sacked in the English Premier League? So those are the topics that we're going to discuss today. Starting off with, I guess we can start off with Arsenal first. You know what I'm saying?
that's exactly where we
Arsenal,
wanted to start with. Exactly where we wanted to start with. And KP, first of all,
Steph. Steph's wife is in trouble.
Uh,
Um, yeah, let's start off with Arsenal first, KP. You know what I'm saying? Started the season good. You know what I'm saying? You drew to Brighton. We all know that this is a season where you don't want to be dropping points, especially when you're going up against Manchester City. Not that they won't drop points, but no matter when they drop points, they still find a way to accumulate enough points to get it over the line. Whereas Arsenal, that's not really the case in the past like 2 seasons. As I said, fairly strong start to the season. What's your assessment, especially seeing that Martin Odegaard is injured now, and it looks like it's a serious injury heading into the North London Derby?
to answer your first question, I think it's a good start to the season. I think we're unbeaten. Won the first 2 games, 2 goals in each game, clean sheet. Difficult game to Villa away, a team that we lost home and away last season. So that's good. And obviously Brighton game, I'm disappointed to drop points. Obviously that's like me. I'm accustomed to Arsenal get going on runs and seeing games out. And as much as obviously, don't get me wrong, I believe that was some BS that red card to Declan Rice, and I also believe that if he didn't get a red card, that we're not losing that game, in my opinion. Also, we're not drawing that game, in my opinion. But with that being said, we still had chances in that game to win. But with all of that, like, yes, City in a title race, you don't want to drop points to City like earlier on. But even in the last 3 seasons, after 3 games, Arsenal weren't top of the league. City have been, I think, 2 or 3 points ahead of us, and it's just 3 games. A league is not won or lost in 3 games. Like a team is not going to get relegated in 3 games. Like a team that like it's everyone just needs to calm down. Like I feel like everyone wants to look at Arsenal this year to be the ones to end, City's 5p because we're the closest to do it. And obviously, of course, us as Arsenal fans, we want to do that as well. But I feel like everyone just needs to see that like it's a season, it's a marathon. Like even in the first 10 games, 15 games, you're not going to be able to determine if the league has won. But I feel like so far, like it's been well. Like we've slowly bedded in Calafiori. We still haven't got majority of our new signings like Sterling and Marino. Obviously, he's injured to play. And just to speak on Odegaard, obviously it's quite sad. It's disappointing. Obviously, you never know the extent of an injury, especially like an ankle turning. Obviously, when I've watched it again, it's not like a complete like full turning, but obviously it's still a bad injury, and you can see that he was in much pain. And even if he is out for the next 2 games, this is why you have a squad. This is why you have a manager. This is why we have players that are uh, able to play in multitude of positions. And obviously, depending on the kind of team you're playing and what you want to, do, you have options still. This is why you have a 17-year-old in one year that you can give the chance, or you have Saka, or you have, we can revert back to doing things like last season when we went on that run. We put Trossard and I think it was Havertz in the midfield, and they were interchanging. Like there's so many options we can do. So to me, I'm not really worried. I'm not necessarily worried. It's more if it is long term, but even at so, it's too quick to judge. So yeah, it's all in all a good start to the season in my opinion.
Yeah. Steph. Oh no, not hearing Steph. But let me just give my thoughts. I'm not an Arsenal fan, but let me just start on the transfers before I head into like the results so far, the start that you guys have. I mean, it's a tricky transfer window for Arsenal. I think it was a tricky one. Last minute you got Raheem Sterling, who I think it's a good addition. Personally, I wanted him at United because I felt like he could have added something to our attacking, forefront. But other than Sterling, Marino, being injured, sustained that in training, so you guys won't get to see him until like a couple months down the line. I'm sure he's quality. You also have Calaflori, who recently came in and hasn't really like stamped his place in the team, but he's still early in the season. I think he has to work himself in a position, and we all know he plays as a left back, and I think he can play as a centre back as well, if I'm not mistaken. And you have Timber, who is, to be honest, he's really a new signing. If you check it, he really didn't play last season. So the way how I see it, it was a good transfer. When I hear that, I hear Arsenal, fans, we needed a strike. You guys needed a striker, etc., etc. But you look at the market, man. Like you won't get Osimhen, or that wasn't a possibility. You'd have to like basically fork up a ton load of money, not only in transfer fee but in wages as well, right? If the Saudis can't pay him the wages, imagine Arsenal, you know. So that was a tricky one. Ivan Toney was mentioned, but honestly, bro, I don't think like Ivan Toney is elite enough for Arsenal, and at the age as well. Nah, plus for me, in my personal opinion, I don't think Ivan Toney is a proven Premier League striker. He had one season where he scored like 18 or 19 goals, but that's not like you being like a proven striker in the Prem, especially for the money that Brentford initially wanted to sell him for. It's the same situation like Solanke. I don't think Solanke is a proven Prem striker, especially for like a top team.
I think you're being disingenuous towards them. Like I feel like
No, like,
Tony,
all right,
Tony's a good player. Like yes, I understand what you're saying in terms of like they may have only had one season where they've reached like 20 plus goals or 18 in and around. But you have to also remember Tony had the ban last season, which he missed half of the season, obviously for the betting thing, as well as that. Like he's a quality player. He's just one of those players that plays for a lower end team. So we haven't seen them in a high end team, and obviously because he's gone Saudi, that's the case. Solanke on the other hand, I thought he's a good player, but it's more the price he was bought for. But I think he's a good
yeah,
player.
all right, fair enough. So the transfer window was good in a sense. In terms of the results for Arsenal, 3 games, 2 wins, and 1 draw. It's not a bad start to the season. 3 games in international break. Against Brighton in the second half, you guys probably should have won that game. See that you had like 2 to 3 golden opportunities with Saka and Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz more so should have finished his chance. I think he was one-on-one with the keeper. Just had to like really pick his spot and use that finishing ability. But I mean, listen, 6 points out of 9, or no, 7 points out of 9. You can't complain. I mean, City's leading the table, but that's the nature of the beast in terms of like when you go up against Manchester City, it's like David and Goliath. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to find a way to overcome.
Yeah, but obviously, like last season, they were three games out of 3. They won the first 3 games. In the end, Liverpool are the team that are top Christmas. But by the end, Arsenal are top by February, March. Then the City are the ones that win. Like, fam, this is like the first 3 games don't mean anything. As if you only mean something if you lose the first 3 games, then you could kind of be like, oh, you're not in the title race. Or a team like United have lost the first 2 out of their 3. You know what I mean? So, but
Steph, what you have to say about the start of the season so far for Arsenal?
Start to the season, I think we should be 9 from 9. That's exactly what I'll say. And I think, barring a refereeing decision, we're sitting here talking about potentially 3 back-to-back 2-0 victories. Potentially. I think Arsenal defensively this season, David Raya for me was my player of the month. I would have given it to Saka as well. Saka was outstanding this month as well. But first of all, David Raya, a massive save in every single game that we played. So credit to David Raya, first of all, I say, but I think defensively we're showing that we're back again and we're going to be one of the strongest defensive teams in this league. And I think the only question a lot of people have about us is if we could put the ball into the back of the net when it counts and when it matters the most. And so far, Kai Havertz has come up and shown that he is talented enough to do that. He's stepping up and proving to carry on the form that he showed at the back end of last season, continuing to score goals. And Bukayo Saka is on player of the season form. So at this, I mean, it's all rosy and well on the pitch, but it gets really nasty when you talk about the amount of injuries. And I didn't really get to hear too much about KP when you talked about the injuries, but I'll give my perspective on it. I'm a bit scared going into these next two fixtures, not knowing what has us from not knowing what happens with Martin Odegaard's ankle. He probably, even if he's 65% good, he will play. I think he will play. I think he will try to use
but you see, like all of us have, maybe you guys, everyone has played either basketball or football where you've jumped and you've twisted your ankle, and at least for the next 2 days you can't even put any pressure or walk on that leg. And you know what I'm saying, so there's no way by Sunday he's gonna be able to play in a game that means so much where he could potentially risk his rest of the season. I understand what you're saying though, but I feel like
you know. I mean, I don't know.
It's because we've been through seasons where our attacking players like Saka or Odegaard have never been injured, so we've never have to see the squad like them. Those positions be, you know, other players rely on. But this is where you have to trust the squad. Like, everyone's talking about having depth and, you know, bringing these academy players, and when it's time to play, it's like, oh, I don't know. Like, you don't know what the backup option might do.
But true, I agree with you, KP. But it's depth for a reason. Depth for off the bench scenarios in certain minute scenarios. I don't know how confident I am fielding a midfield of potentially Partey, Jorginho, and maybe Neri.
Or Havertz or Saka.
Jesus potentially back.
But end of the day, like, you've seen City have seasons where they're missing Haaland for 2-3 months, De Bruyne for 4 or 5 months. You know, like, okay, maybe they're not in the title race, but Keyshawn, his team, he's missed a lot of key players for a lot. Like, this is part of football. Like, for me, it's like I'm excited by it because at least it's not happening at the end of the season where these are the key games and you're losing a key player. Like, if it's happening in the beginning of the season, then what that means is that certain players that are in the squad are going to have more opportunity to show why they should be starting and why they should be used when it comes down to key times. Like someone like Wanyeri now, if Arteta entrust him, this is your time to shine. If you have a run of games where you bang, Odegaard might come back from injury, and obviously you can't bench your captain, but it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, for me, I'd rather see it now than see it later. It's more exciting because what's the point of having a squad and it's like you only see guys in instances? You want to know you can trust these guys. If you're needed to start, then you can start in it. So obviously it's a big game in it. So I'm not trying to act like Odegaard's injured. Oh yeah, on to the next, like, because but injuries happen. Like, this is what I'm trying to say about people. Like, injuries happen. Like, everyone has to have the next man up mentality if you're trying to win a league, though.
I mean, if anything, you can always drop back Kai Havertz in the midfield. You know what I'm saying? That's always an option.
Obviously, I don't know if you wanted to talk about quickly what would you do in that game, Steph, or
yes,
Sean, I don't know if you care about Arsenal, where if you wanted to chip in, because I know you
in terms of the midfield options, you know, I know that obviously Thomas Partey and Jorginho might feature. Definitely, you know, Rice is available. Jorginho will be a feat.
No, Rice is
my bad. Yeah, so you guys are going into the Northern and Derby a bit weak. So yeah, Rice got that suspension for the one game. So definitely Jorginho and Thomas Partey will be a feature. You know, in terms of like Ethan, I'm not really familiar with his game, but I think one of the safer bets would be to go with a player like Kai Havertz. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
In Dreamland, I would love to go with Ethan, and I can't lie. If Arteta is the kind of if he trusts him and he says that game, I need that kind of creative hub, or I want to, or Ethan shows in training in the next 3-4 days that like Odegaard's injured, I'm ready to step up. He plays him. I'm not gonna be like, oh, why are you playing him? Because I believe Ethan will ball out if he plays. But
we're talking about Ethan, but what about Zinchenko? I know we talked about it before the start of the season. Me and KP talked about it, but what about Zinchenko potentially stepping into that number 8 role, possibly doing the job?
I would love if Arteta did something different, like obviously Zinchenko or Timber in midfield, and I won't be surprised if, like, push comes to shoves, he has to do that. But I think I said there was one press conference at the beginning of the season when someone asked him like, "Oh, would you use Zinchenko in midfield? He plays there for his country." He's like, "No, like." I'm not using him in midfield. I think he even said it. Like, and I was like, He never said, but he didn't say the same thing for Timber. He thought Timber can be played anywhere, so maybe. But
Mhm.
I think in that game, like Keyshawn said, I think he'll probably refer back to seniority. It's a big game. It's the first game after the international break. Obviously, you don't want to make too many changes, even though you have to make changes. And it's like Jorginho hasn't played all season, senior player. You will probably going to adopt, sitting back and trying to get them on a counter. So it's like it's more about if Jesus is fit, then putting Kai Havertz back in midfield, putting Jesus at the 9. Obviously, your trace of wingers, interesting. If he's not fit, do you go Trossard in midfield? And put Havertz in the interchange, or do you put Saka in the midfield and you put Sterling on the right? Like I think there's options to where it's not like it's not like 2 years ago, Steph, where if like Odegaard and Partey got injured, then you have El Neni and okay, maybe not Smith Rowe, but you know what I mean. Like the squad is
Yeah.
lean. You don't have a
El Nino left Arsenal, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, 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 on the free.
I think one thing that might play a big factor in how Mikel Arteta goes with this midfield is the addition of Raheem Sterling, because he's another game changer. That whether he's starting or is coming off the bench, you have Trossard who can come off the bench. You have a Raheem Sterling. Gabriel Martinelli is not in that top form that he used to be in. But let's say you go like Gabriel Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus, and Saka off that right hand side. I mean, the midfield is not a big issue to worry about whether or not you play like a Kai Havertz in there, like a Zinchenko. You know what I'm saying? Because attacking wise, you're still supposed to have enough to get better off this Tottenham team, and defensively, it's one of the best defenses in the league. So I don't think the midfield is the biggest concern heading into the North London Derby. It's a concern, obviously, with the potential of Odegaard missing that game, plus Declan Rice not being available. But still, it's not like you're missing like a key centre back who really holds up the back line. You know what I'm saying? Saka is one of the best right wingers in the world, in the league as well. Sterling can offer something. I think this is the redemption of Sterling. The man recently got baptized. So, you got to see a different right Sterling. You know what I'm saying, bro? So yeah,
I think that got baptized right now.
I think Arteta will figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's some big choices to make in the midfield, but playing Kai Havertz would be the safer option for me.
I think he will figure it out, but I don't want to just pass over it and think that it won't be a problem, because I've watched Spurs a lot this season, and what I will say about Spurs is they do win back the ball a lot. They create a lot of chances, and if we don't really take care of the ball in the middle of the park, we're gonna cause a lot of turnovers. I don't know if Dominic Solanke will be back for them. I've seen him miss chances, but at the same time, Spurs had 20 shots and had 1 goal against Newcastle. They can create shots and they will create chances, and I mean it goes down again. I like this to be as defensively solid as possible, because I know once our defense and our midfield is good, that's what I always back it on. That's why I've been backing all of my predictions on over the last year and a half, backing the defense and backing the midfield, and then entrusting that the attack will get its goal over time when we look to build up. Because one of our biggest things in build up is through the midfield lines with the Thomas Partey, with whoever's in that midfield position alongside Martin Odegaard. They like to break the channels and play through the ball, get the ball to our front line a bit quicker and a bit faster. So KP, my question would be to you. We know back line and back 5 in terms of the goalkeeper will stay more than likely the same. What would be your midfield 3 and then your attacking 3 going into a massive game against Spurs?
So can I do like if Jesus is fit, or do I just
you can do that as well, yeah.
Like I think because I was gonna I guess I'm intrigued to see what you would say, what you're gonna say. But I think we're probably gonna play similar to how we played them last season at their ground, where like we're gonna give them the possession of the ball, but we're gonna be in our shape that they're not gonna be able to really make many chances and get much joy through the middle anyways. Obviously they might get space in the wide areas, but they're going to be swinging crosses to where Raya can collect and Saliba and Gabriel are going to clean up. I think it's more about as you're saying, like, if we can keep the ball, but I think I would go with Jorginho and Partey in the midfield, and I would go with Havertz in the midfield, and I would put Jesus, and I would basically play like a 4-4-2, essentially, where you kind of Havertz can go forward and Jesus drops into the false 9 and into the pockets and you play like Jorginho and Partey as a 2-flat-2, where they're both good ball players, both good at build up, and if we just need to transition, obviously on the wide areas, it's for me, I would go Martinelli and Saka, and I think that's what he's gonna do. If Jesus isn't fit, I would play Havertz in the 9, and I would personally put Saka in that position, and I would put Sterling on the right and Martinelli on wide, because I feel like we need pace to, if we're going to sit deep, we need to be able to have players that are going to run in behind and cause a threat for Tottenham's. Because Tottenham send their fullbacks high, like in their build up. So there's going to be a lot of space for us to, to capitalize if we can get the passing right. And obviously having Jorginho and Partey, I think that does that. What about you though? What would you do?
But like I said, back five stays the same. I kind of agree. I was going to go with your midfield show. I like the fact that you went with a 4-4-2. That actually did not cross my mind. I was just more still thinking of how we normally play. If he doesn't change formation, or if he doesn't shift it around tactically like that, I'd potentially have Partey and Jorginho in the same side as well. And I think he will play Havertz in the midfield. That's something we've been talking about for a long, long time. He trusts Havertz in the midfield. We see him play there in preseason. Even though some fans might not like it as much, I think Havertz does bring something to the team that we can't get from a lot of other players in terms of the height, the physicality, the way he's always able to run and willing to run the channels. Even though he might not be the quickest in the team, he's always ready and willing to play. And I think in the midfield, he would give that energy that's going to be missed without a Declan Rice in there. And he would definitely work hard. So I'd probably go Jorginho, Partey, and Havertz up top. Well, barring any more injuries, God forbid, for real though, but I'd go off the right. I'd go Saka off the right. I don't think Jesus will start, if I'm being honest. Just off the mere fact he's just coming back from injury. If Arteta trusts him to throw him into the deep end, it wouldn't surprise me. But do I think he will start? No. I think what you will see is potentially Trossard in the 9 and Martinelli off the left. Or depending, he might go Sterling as a false 9, because Sterling has been getting a lot of minutes in preseason. He's played with Sterling before. Sterling understands, he's been in and around the Premier League for a long, long time. It wouldn't surprise me if Sterling does find his way into the team at the weekend, but I think he might go Trossard, Martinelli, Saka as the front three, or potentially Trossard as the 9.
Yeah,
I think that's what. Yo, Presso, what's your opinions on how Arsenal line up in the midfield and in the attacking lineup?
I mean, I'd go back with Kai Havertz in the midfield. You know what I'm saying? Because as I said, it's a big game against Spurs. Throwing like Ethan in the deep end. I mean, no sensible manager does that. You know what I'm saying?
Wow,
so
it could work. It could work.
What?
Sometimes it's like those like moments where North London derby away at Spurs, 17-year-old has all the.
I mean, I've watched a lot of North London derbies, but I can't tell when last I've seen a player being thrown into the deep end from the academy.
I've seen Cesc Fabregas when he was young, a ball out against.
Yeah, you're older than me, but still, I'm talking like in my lifetime. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen Arsenal with a lot of injuries, bro. Like injury crisis before, and I've never seen them throw an academy player. Like
that's because we never had an academy player that we thought was ready to be like. If a 17-year-old guy is the next of kin behind Odegaard in his position,
I don't think Ethan is that guy. To be honest, man,
huh?
I don't think Ethan is that guy.
Okay, cool. No,
I don't think so. I think there's a little bit like just no. I think there's a little bit of like. I think there's not. I'm not going to say it's like he's like hyped. Like a hyped player, but like there's a social media element around these youngsters, you know what I'm saying? That will make them out to be like better than what they actually are at the level.
But I'm saying, I agree with what you're saying in that. But that's why you have to do your own due diligence and go into now look into these players and like what like in terms of what you believe is good, how like and what they're playing, their position, their age, because it's not just about talent. All these guys look good in comps in it, but it's about what are their actual attributes, what the scouts actually saying about them. Because I go and read these guys' scouting reports, and these scouts will be saying, like, you guys don't understand. Like, physically, these guys are above their age. Like, mentally, they're... Do you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. But anyways, we'll see in it.
To answer Steph's question, I play Kai Havertz in the midfield, go with Jorginho and Thomas Partey. I don't think, personally, I wouldn't change the formation. I'm going with, like, continuity. I've hardly seen Mikel Arteta change his formation, to be honest, if I'm going to be fair to him, So
who would you put in the front three?
The front three, I would, Sterling is with Arsenal for like 2 or 3 weeks now, been training. He hasn't played in like international football, whatever the case is, right? Gabriel Martinelli isn't on form. We've seen Trossard start recently. I would go with Saka, Trossard, I would go with Saka, Trossard, and Sterling. I'd play Sterling off the left and Trossard as the number 9.
Why not Martinelli? Just a question. Just from the outside looking in. Not as a,
Just
not
he's not been on form from last season. You know what I'm saying? And I think like which form has Martinelli been on from last season?
I didn't say anything. I just shook my head.
No, but you're shaking your head. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
but like, I feel like there's this narrative, yeah.
No, bro, it's not no narrative. You
No,
don't
no,
score
no.
like you don't score over what? How many goals you scored that season? Like 15 in the Prem?
yeah,
What
15.
the season before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. You don't do that and then you drop off and you're going to be like, oh, he's not on form. Come on, bro.
I
Like,
No,
think
but
in the
no, but
context, so there's a lot of things that didn't go our way last season in terms of losing Xhaka, in terms of having that play still in the left side of 8 position and not really facilitating that side. We were very right hand side dependent, and anything that was going on that left hand side was either because Odegaard was going over there to have to do something, or it was coming from crosses in the back post. Look at a lot of the goals we scored last season off that side.
but bro, like
and I feel like
if you just
go
look
ahead.
at Martin in general in terms of like his game, it's not been good
No,
since.
no, I feel like this is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like you see, like, I'm not saying you're one of these guys, press up. I'm saying I feel like football fans these days judge players based on output. Like,
No,
I'll tell you, I'll tell you,
Steph. I've seen how direct Martinelli can be in the past when he was on it. He's not as direct again.
last season he was direct a lot. The difference is he just didn't score chances. So you're not going to remember performances where he didn't score chances. Like I've seen last season. Do you know how many games Trossard? I'm not criticizing Trossard, but I'm saying Seth. Can Trossard not be quiet for 50 minutes, but then he'll be the guy that
Yeah, we
clutches
turn
the
up the
goal.
bag of goals.
We're gonna celebrate, but it's don't act like in the game he was creating five key passes and he was beating his
That's
guy
just the
all the
left hand
time.
side in general. Even the game
Like,
against Brighton.
like I
Even the
think
game against
football is
Brighton.
football. Sometimes
Trossard was behind.
people can sometimes kind of like it depends what you want to misconstrue. Because I feel like Martinelli could play crap this season but score more goals. People will say he was more
He was
effective
better.
than last season. Like football is it's about what you value in it. So I'm not going to argue. I'm saying that's wrong, but I feel like I don't mind Martinelli. I don't mind whoever plays in this team. I feel like whoever starts now, whoever don't start, it don't matter to me anymore because hey, if you're on the squad now and they call your number, play. You're a football player, man. Play. I don't look at anyone on this team like, oh, you're
Well,
a
what
rubbish.
I will say though is like it wouldn't surprise me if Sterling starts because I don't
Yeah,
believe Sterling is a scrub. I just believe that
Yeah,
Chelsea,
much like me either.
you know, it's
yeah,
hard to
yeah,
build a
yeah.
Chelsea
I
team.
agree.
You know what
And
I'm
I think,
saying, bro? So
but it's obviously it's like what is it Zhang Penguin? What he said is that he doubts
Yeah.
he'll see. I think he's talking about
Still
Ranieri.
Odegaard. I think he was talking about Odegaard in terms of
Yeah,
what
and
we'll
Ranieri.
see it, but I
Like,
think there's some good talent to come into the
but you
fruition.
have to realize now, like we're entering a stage of the season where we're gonna have 3 games. Everyone's gonna have 3 games a week for at least the next international break, which is in October, mid-October. So you can't play the same 11 every single game. And if we have injuries on top of that, as well as suspensions, players like Wanyeri are going to play minutes, whether they play on Sunday or they play on Tuesday, they're going to play. So whether, like, to me, it doesn't
and I
really matter
mean,
what order it is. So
to be
Wait,
honest, yeah, you know,
before we move on, I just want to read this comment. By Jean again. I don't think Martinelli has fallen off, but he definitely is better when we have better left side support. Trossard is a clutch player for goals, but he doesn't wear down the defenders like Martinelli.
that's facts. Like Trossard, like, I think that's why like we saw him against Brighton. I don't think Trossard played bad, but I don't think he played good. Like he wasn't
Yeah,
like like, I feel like there's a lot of times I feel like it was wasteful, obviously, or something. He wasn't really existent in the game. But I feel like Martinelli, when he plays, he wears down his defender. He does so much. He does so much. He runs in behind, makes runs. So by the time Trossard comes on, I'm not saying that he does the job for him, but he allows Trossard now and with his skill set to be clutch and finishing moments. It's just everyone has their role in it. So
yeah, everyone has their role within the team, and to be honest, I think everyone plays their part specifically well. Hopefully, they can play their part. But there was something I wanted to ask you. I know Preston gave his opinions about it, and he doesn't think Nwaneri would be thrown in the deep end. But if you were to throw Nwaneri in the deep end, who would come out to that team? Would you take out a Jorginho? Would you take? You have to take out either Jorginho or Partey because we know he won't take out Havertz.
I don't. It just depends. No, because as I said, it all depends on Jesus. Because I don't think because you have to think about like everyone's looking at the options, but you have to also look at with the options that you have. You have to think about the tactics in which you're trying to win that game by. Innit? Like Tottenham have 2 strong defenders in Romero and Van der Ven that are strong, fast. Like that's why you would want a tall, technical, confident player like Kai Havertz to occupy them. Then that frees up the space in the midfield. Within saying that, if you're going to play a player like Wanyeri, you want to surround him with the most experience. Our most experienced players in the squad are the 2 30-year-olds in Jorginho and Partey. You put them there because people are constantly thinking like, like it's going to be a back and forth game. So Jorginho and Partey, because of their declining athleticism, are going to get exposed. I don't really think that because I feel like Arsenal are going to play in their shape. And if Tottenham are, and knowing the team Tottenham are, they're going to be pushing it. They're going to be trying to force. They're going to try to force the matter. And if Arsenal do win the ball, players like Jorginho and Partey are technical and smart enough that they will know when to play the pass, play the around the corner pass, take a touch. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to just be booting the ball left and right. So having a player like Wanyeri in the pockets, I feel like it's like a player. Like you have to think about these man's mindset. Imagine you were a 17-year-old player, a 17-year-old wonder kid, and you get to play in the North London derby from the start. Steph, are you not going to ball out? If like, are you going to? Like the moment is not going to be too small for you. Yeah, you might make mistakes. Yeah, you might dribble into, but you're going to get the ball. You're going to see. You're going to try and how you play in 21. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to be one of those, isn't it? And it's just about whether Arteta feels he trusts this guy and he feels not trust the guy. I think he trusts him clearly because he wouldn't have got rid of one Vieira and ESR because the situation like this happens. He's going to have to play Wanyeri a lot more minutes, but it's more this week in training. Does Wanyeri like is all his touches sharp? Is he hungry? Is he all of a sudden more vocal or something? And Arteta looks and says, "Nah, this guy is ready."
I hope so.
I want to.
That would be probably the most pleasant surprise this weekend would have to offer. If we could see a player like Ethan Nwaneri, I think all Arsenal fans who have been crying for another player to come through the academy for so long, if Nwaneri comes in and he balls out at Tottenham, let alone scores at Tottenham, let alone be a winner at Tottenham.
Who's the last player to break through the academy in this Arsenal team? It would be Saka, right?
Saka, obviously, you had Smith Rowe.
That has been a main staple, Saka and like Smith Rowe.
That's what I'm saying. Like when, like for example, Steph, sorry, Presser, like Kobe Manu in your team. Like, I got a couple of my mates, Man United fans that have been talking about Kobe Manu for like 4 years. Like, fam, this guy's just mad in the academy, like so groovy. But obviously, I don't watch United. I don't really care, and I don't see him in first minute. The minute I see him play the first game, for my eyes, I'm like, this guy's a baller. Like, I don't need to watch him for 10 games. Like, I can see it. And if he stays fit and he continues how he's going, lo and behold, a year on, he's played in Euros. He's one of your main midfielders, and he's an excellent player. This is how this starts, isn't it? 1 year ago, 2 years ago, all of a sudden Barcelona started playing this 16-year-old winger at the end of the season, and everyone's like, "Oh, who's this guy?" Then he plays the whole season and he balls out and he goes to Euros and he's the star of the Euros at 16. Like, if you got it, you got it. It's not about your age. Not about
I think that's the one thing I agree with. I think you always have to give like young players a chance. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't give them a chance, you'll never know. And I don't think like there's ever the right game. Like people might look at it and say, "Oh, play him against like a Brighton or play him like against a Burnley." Like not because like a Burnley is a bum team if they were in the Prem still. It means like, oh, that player's gonna like ball out. These are still like professional players at the end of the day that you're going up against. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you just have to have them in the right environment, train them properly. You know, give them the confidence to go out there and like showcase themselves. And the best thing with young players is like when you're 16, 17, like you're actually supposed to go out there and like show what you're about so you can get more minutes. Whereas like when you're a bit older, like you need to like perform at a level to keep your place in the team compared to when you're 16, 17, because you really truly have a place. You're playing for a place. You know what I'm saying?
When you're younger, you're not expected to be the perfect player. Like you're expected to make mistakes. So if you're going out there and trying things and trying to dribble a few guys and play passes that, not saying you shouldn't pass, but like you shouldn't play, but you just see and you want to play, no one's gonna judge you in it. But just to say something before we move on, I was gonna say, like in an ideal situation, because obviously I think we're facing Bolton. No, not facing Bolton. We got Atalanta in the Champions League, our next game. But like Wanyeri would have started to get his minutes either way. But if Odegaard is actually injured for like, let's just even say like a couple of weeks, that Wanyeri is going to have to be used earlier. And it's like whether he plays Kai Havertz or he plays whoever in the midfield on Thursday, then we have City on Sunday. He's going to have to squeeze him in somewhere. So I was just saying, like, eventually you're going to have to play these guys in it. But
Yeah. I agree with you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what your comment section. Let me know what you think. Who should start in that midfield? Should it be Nwaneri? Should we see him perform at the North London Derby? Would you go safe and play Jorginho, Partey, and Havertz? Let me know in the comment section down below. But ladies and gentlemen, like I said, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And without further ado, let's get.
Before we move on as well, the big question is Arsenal? It's just like a yes or no. Is Arsenal ready for the title challenge? From Steph, you?
I mean, I said yes to start the season. Why would I say no? I mean, 7 points from 9.
I mean, with the injuries, so you never know.
We beat Tottenham. then we recover, we get back our players, we get back in form, and we beat City again. I think the whole narrative changes around the team. I think whether people are only so feeling a bit tense right now is because it's still early in the season. We have two massive games to play, and we're going into those games with some injuries to players that we would have likely wanted to have.
And I think everyone is just getting out of proportion because Erling Haaland scored 2 back-to-back hat
Yeah.
tricks. So they're like,
But
wow, this guy is going to have another, and he is going to have another mad season. But
we've seen
if you,
him have
if,
bad seasons, and
if you,
Saliba and Gabriel lock it up.
and I'll just say this, yeah, even if Haaland scores 7 goals a game, City are only going to get 3 points from that game. If Arsenal are playing their game and they win, they're going to get 3 points. It doesn't matter whether they score 10 goals a game or they score 1 goal a game. Don't get me wrong, the goal difference can be mad, but like I think it's just okay, man. But it's what it is, man. Like we'll see what happens. I think my answer to my question is yes as well. Like, of course, Arsenal are ready for this title race. So,
but now let's get to the meat and potatoes. What I know a lot of people also came here for too, and this is Presser's team. Presser let all people know he was a Manchester United fan. That's where you're hiding from you. That's where you're hiding from us, Presser.
Now I was texting somebody.
Yes.
yeah.
Ladies and
I
gentlemen,
was actually texting Ratcliffe to sack Ten Hag. You know what I'm saying?
you should have been texting him because listen, Manchester United have taken 3 points from a possible 9 to start the season, losing to Liverpool in convincing fashion, and before that losing to Brighton as well at the last minute of the game, missing numerous chances and overall not really playing well. With a manager like Erik Ten Hag under so much pressure from the media and from others on the outside, do you think, first of all, to the fans and anyone watching in the comment section down below, will Ten Hag be the first manager to get sacked this season? Presser, I'll leave that same question to you as well. Do you think Ten Hag will be the first manager to get sacked? And if he's even not the first, do you think he will get sacked this season?
I mean, to say the first, right? Who are the teams that got promoted? Southampton, Leicester, and who? Ipswich.
Yeah, Ipswich. But okay, let me let you line.
No, normally you look at newly promoted teams, and they're normally the first to sack managers, right? Because they're looking to stay in the Prem, so they try to maximize as much resources that they can to, stay in the Prem. At least 1 out of the 3 teams, you often find that they sack the manager at one point in the season. So to say the first, I would have to assess like the newly promoted teams to see like what are the ambitions of these respective teams, to see that like, okay, is one of these teams ambitious enough to like let go of a manager if there's like 5 bad results, even if it's against like 5 top teams. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
I'm trying to think because I think all of them, if I'm not sure, have new managers. Leicester have
they have, but I'm saying like they still want to stay in the Prem. Like at Leicester City, they've been a mainstay in the Prem. So if Steve Cooper goes on like 5 bad results and Leicester pulls the trigger from early, then that will be the team that probably sacks their manager first out of everyone else. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on the ambition of like the smaller teams. In terms of Erik Ten Hag, I was reading an article from Ben Jacobs where it was like it would be a knee-jerk reaction to sack Ten Hag now, like this direct moment, which I agree with. In terms of like the next couple games that we'll have like some crucial games coming up.
Why do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, you don't start the season with 3 games and losing 1. I mean, winning 1 out of 3 and then you start the manager. That doesn't make sense to me because you still can go on a run at the end of the day. Do I believe United will go on a run? Probably not.
What about your next game is Southampton, right?
Yeah.
So what about if we lose that game? Do you sack him?
If he loses that game against Southampton, then you start to ask questions. Like you start to have that discussion about like, okay, we might have to move on this guy.
So last season, when you finished 8th, right, and you finished with a minus goal difference, and you guys were crap every game, and you were open every game, and your manager never took accountability for any of the performances for why you guys played rubbish, and even in the last press conference, you talking about Harry Potter and I'm not magical and I can't, do this and that. Like we've seen the same manager that he played in the last game come in 3 games and a preseason make his team play absolute good football, and everyone's gonna keep on saying, "Oh, he has Klopp's team and they're the same players." That doesn't matter. Like football is football. Like if you have an ideology, you can come in. We've seen Brighton's manager as a 31-year-old, 32-year-old. He come in. They bought how many new guys? They're playing football. Yeah, you can say Brighton have a sense of playing football, but I'm not trying to hear that because
no. Listen,
don't try and reset because you guys want to.
No, I'm not trying to reset. I'm saying like the Southampton game, like I would start to ask like more questions there. How much did Liverpool give us?
What questions are you asking that you've not
That
already seen.
that's what
That's
I'm
that,
saying.
No,
that,
no,
I
like
feel like
listen, listen,
I feel like
listen,
you
listen,
United fans
listen,
have just reset this thing.
listen,
Like it's
listen,
like what's
listen.
going on? What's
I know
going
that
on?
like it's two v one
Is
in
it
terms of
no
I know
no no?
that
I'm not
it's
saying it.
two
I'm saying
it's
is it
two v
because
one, like
no, I'm
two
not
as
even saying
Japan's
that. I'm
up
just saying
against
that
me, you know what I'm saying?
like last season, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I'm not saying that you have clips online that you would have been like, oh, like I'm 10 hard. But I'm pretty sure when United wasn't playing well last season, you probably wanted the manager to be gone.
No, bro. I was asking questions, but the reason as to why like I stopped, especially at the end of the season, I'm saying, okay, if Ineos is gonna bat the guy, then who am I to ask questions as to whether or not they want to keep him?
But
In general, I don't want him at the club. You know what I'm saying? So, but I still support the movement or the moves of Ineos. So they decided to keep him, and I was like, okay, you give him some new signings under this
Does that
regime,
make
like the
you have
Jersey.
questions about Ineos? Because to be
No,
honest,
not so much
what they
because
just
I had assessed the managerial market and I was like, okay, if you sack Eric Ten Hag, at least at the end of the season, who are you gonna get? No, it's the same situation where you don't have like a lot of managers out there like good enough for United, even now. But you still have to pull the trigger if the results are bad with Eric Ten Hag eventually. So you still have to find a replacement. But I was saying, due to the fact that it's a new ownership. When Stan Kroenke bought majority of the shares in Arsenal, things changed compared to when the shares were split. You know what I'm saying? When Newcastle got the new ownership, things did change. You know, they brought in a new manager, etc., etc. So I'm saying, okay, let me give him a clean slate in terms of like Ineos. Ineos, they went out early. It looked like they had targets. They got these targets in from early. The only person that came in late was Ugarte. They moved on the Anthony Marshall in terms of not giving him a contract renewal. You know, Varane wasn't renewed, etc., etc. You know, Casemiro was even supposed to leave. It looks like. So I'm saying, okay, Eric Ten Hag, you got your new signings, and he has been fully backed as well. But at the start of the season, he hasn't hit the ground running. You know, he hasn't done the job in terms of like getting at least 6 points out of nine. I would have been happy with 6 points out of nine. But the main issue I have with United is that we're not playing proper football. You know what I'm saying?
but the point I'm making, obviously, sorry, Steph, like obviously, and sorry, Hishan, it looks funny because me and Steph are on the top in it, so it's like we've come with like some Arsenal, we've come with our guns saying, yeah, already. I'm not even trying to do that. I'm just saying, yeah, like everything you're saying is correct in it, and I even agree with you. I don't the manager market isn't like the maddest right now, even though obviously there might have been coaches that you might have wanted, but maybe they didn't want to take the job, and obviously the state your club right now is going through a lot of transition, so to just bring a new manager in the stage where maybe there's a lot of things that are changing right now is kind of unfair on that manager as well. So obviously there's a reason why you've got Van Nistelrooy who won the league in with PSV and probably had job offers at his table. That is the reason why he's an assistant waiting there, because he's gonna end up being interim as soon as you guys or whenever you guys sack Ten Hag. My point I'm making is, and I'm not saying sack him 3 games in, I'm saying you guys have seen is this his third season? Yeah, it's his third season now. For 2 straight seasons, no football. Even in the first season, like you lost your first 3 games. Brentford 4-0. Last season, you probably lost your first 3 games. This season, it's not like this is new or something. And as I said in it, because with Arsenal, I said it's a league is not won in 3 games. Ten Hag's job shouldn't be sacked in 3 games. United season is over in 3 games. But the football, bro, like we've seen. So I mentioned Arnie Slot. I mentioned Brighton's manager. I can mention like any manager really in this league, like there's an ideology in your team. There's no ideology in Man United. He's been here for 2 years. Like you're telling me he can't like you think he's not it just doesn't make any
No,
sense.
listen, I'm not debating that. You know, obviously there's no like philosophy with his football, you know, and you
So,
know, let
so
me tell you, bro.
where does this hope of like because Ineos have arrived and
No,
obviously you
I'm
guys
saying in the initial stages, I am backing a new ownership. So I'm backing what they're doing. You
we're
know what
not
I'm
talking
saying?
about the ownership, because I'm not saying that you guys should sack Ineos, like, and I'm not saying what Ineos
Yeah,
are
but
doing.
I'm talking about the decisions of them.
Yeah, but
That's
I'm
where
saying
the hope
I
was.
agree. I agree with what
They're the
you're
one
saying.
that did the assessment to keep him. So I'm saying, okay, they see something in the guy, so let me stick with him.
No,
However,
I think it's more what you're saying in terms of the market wasn't good, so they would rather keep a guy. And I think they gave him a 1 year extension, right? It wasn't like they gave him a mad contract.
I'm not sure.
Like
They gave
no,
him
no,
a
no,
renewal,
no,
but
I do want to say
I
one
think it was a
thing.
one. So go on.
I do want to read this comment now that you touched on that contract extension. Zan said, I think the thing with Eric Ten Hag is as long as he keeps winning, Ratcliffe will probably be hard pressed to sack him. Financially, they need to conserve for rebuilding the club. Then he said, new stadiums, training ground repairs, new players are all expensive. In my opinion, more likely to see him leave at the end of his contract.
But with all that being said in it, because I think Keyshawn brought up a good point about when Stan Kroenke sorry, the Cronkies took over Arsenal. I think this was probably at the time when Wenger was about to leave, and we got
Yeah.
Emery, and obviously we saw like
Mhm.
that didn't go well. But there's a point where even in like because there's not like they're not planning for life after Ten Hag. It's not like they don't know. That's what I said. They got Van Nistelrooy there. That I'm not saying the same Van Nistelrooy is going to be the heir and he's going to be the manager. But at least whenever this gets too sour that we need to push the button, we don't need to go and scour for a manager. We have a guy that you'd feel like he's already probably making the relationships and the bonds with the players, and he can transition and probably trust his football. But my problem is, are you gonna wait till November when maybe you've only won 2 games and you've lost 8 and you're in relegation zone
No,
and,
like
and you
obviously,
can't make
I don't
that's what
think
I'm saying.
Ineos. Listen, Ratcliffe didn't want Eric Ten Hag at the end of like to start the new season. I think it was more so the lack of quality managers out there right now. I
So
mean,
you think
there's
if
quality.
Manchester United had someone definitely out there that he would have sucked Ten Hag at the end of the season, even though he won the FA Cup?
Yeah. Are you confident to say that?
Repeat.
Do you think if the manager was out there that Manchester United fans wanted, or do you think was good enough to take over the job? Do you think Ratcliffe would have sacked Ten Hag even though he won the FA Cup?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. 100%.
Okay.
But I'm saying, yes, you have quality managers out there, but remember, United is a delicate situation. You have to know who you want to get into the job and the philosophy fits the club. And it's not only fits the club, but you have to also come in as a manager and change the environment. Pep did that at City. Mikel Arteta did that at Arsenal. You know, many managers go into different teams and they change the environment, the culture. United will still have a toxic culture to an extent. So a new manager needs to come in and change that. So it's a very delicate situation as to why.
That's what I
Huh?
want to touch on. Sir. I think that's really the issue here for me. When you look at a stadium booing Erik Ten Hag for not subbing off a star player in Rashford, that is the biggest divide you can have within the fan base. Fans don't like the manager and the fans don't like the star player. There's no kind of harmonious thing you can build from that. And I think this has been a culture with it, whether it be leaks from the press, whether it be things coming out about the team. It has to be something in Rashford's contract that he's playing all these games because fans see it. Everyone sees it. Rashford has not been good for months. And it's not that Rashford is not a bad player. I don't want to come on here and start this Rashford hate. But when you have two young players in Ahmad, who's proven since the back end of last season that he's a really top talent who should be getting more minutes, and Garnacho, who's been possibly one of your most inspiring players over the last 2 years, how are they not your two starting wingers with what you had? You had that
But you,
picture at the back end of last season with Kobe Manu, with Garnacho, with Hart Hoyland, all standing down on the advertising boards against West Ham. And that was probably the happiest I've seen Manchester United fans in years. Where he's brought through youth, but why isn't he sticking with certain policies and stuff that he's building? I think it has to go all around with the culture of the club. And until you guys fix
No,
that,
listen.
I think the club is
You
stuck.
know, when Eric Ten Hag gets sacked, or in terms of the basis as to why I want Eric Ten Hag to be sacked, it's not so much about results. It's more of the things that he's saying after the games. I can accept losing a game. I can accept not playing well. I'm used to that. I've seen that. But when a manager comes out and doesn't say it as it is, and I'm not saying throw the players under the bus, but at least they can just come out and have the decency to say that we didn't play well. But
like
when a team,
the fans are not stupid what they're watching. Like
yeah,
I'm
when a
hearing
team all plays you and dominates in possession, scores like 3 goals, and then Eric Ten Hag comes out and say, "Okay, um,
we had 5 chances,
we played
chances,
well,
then yeah,
etc." I have a
okay.
problem with that. You know what I'm saying? Because I know what I'm watching. It's almost like somebody's trying to like dumb me down. It's almost like I'm an idiot. It's not that I know more than the manager, but at least I know basic football to know that okay, United did not play well against Liverpool. When he comes out before games and he says like, "Oh, we're right behind City because we won 2 cup trophies." Bro, Arsenal is behind City. They're the ones that's challenging.
I agree with you, Presser, but it's the thing I'd still say to that. You could want I do agree with wanting Eric Ten Hag out for that reason, because that I what some of the stuff he says after certain games, you just have to just shake your head and just forget about it. But how many let's go down the line of managers you've had since Sir Alex Ferguson left. You've had David Moyes, you've had Louis Van Gaal, you've had Jose Mourinho, you've had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you've had project managers, top managers, you've had all different types of things. You've had all different types of philosophies and ideas and styles and qualities. You've had the authoritarians in Erik Ten Hag. You've had more player coaches like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You've had all types of this. You had another authoritarian who's won stuff in Jose Mourinho and Louis Van Gaal. You've had another project manager who's building and already Premier League proven in David Moyes over the years. It has to be a culture thing. And to be honest, I think until Ineos really delve into the crux and really the club itself, I think Manchester United are stuck in a revolving door of mediocrity. And I think it doesn't
I
matter
think
what
I
order
think
you
the
want to
main
play.
culture shift will come from getting rid of a player like a Marcus Rashford,
But
because
like,
I think, yeah, he has a strong influence on the fan base. You listen, getting out the likes of Casemiro, etc., would be a good thing as well. But in terms of when they get rid of the mediocre players, then I think that's where you will see like a good change in terms of like the culture at Manchester United, because Anthony isn't good enough. It isn't good enough. Rashford isn't good enough. For me, I'm sorry, Casemiro isn't good enough as well. I
mm,
think once you move away those three players and like Harry Maguire as well, four, maybe I'm missing somebody, a Luke Shaw, five.
Name the
You
whole
have
side.
to,
Name the whole
I
side.
think
bro,
Give me the whole
to change the culture, you have to get rid of like every dead wood. You have to get rid of every player that shouldn't be there. You know what I'm saying? You have to get rid of them. Like it has to be like a clean slate. So far, it's not a clean slate. I mean, Garnacho is a good player. Hoyland is a good player. Zersky. But when you get rid of the Rashford and those type of players, and like you see a fully new team, then I believe that's when the culture will be changed.
but to go off your to a few things, because Steph was saying like the problem, maybe Keyshawn can say this as well, like you can't, the reason why Garnacho can't start, because when he starts he doesn't necessarily play well, and I think he's better, he starts better off the right, but with Ahmad being a better right winger than him, it's hard for him not to play. I think it's so mad, yeah, 'cause I think Rashford's a good player. Maybe his time at United is done, but I think
So,
there's just no good coach in there to allow a guy like that who clearly has to be locked into football like that
I,
season.
I don't think, for to be honest, I don't think Rashford has ever been a good player. I can boldly
Nah,
say that.
nah, because that season that he played, where you guys came third in Ten
Yeah,
Hag's
but
first,
I listened to a former United player. He's not like a populous amongst the fans, but he said like even though Rashford had that wonderful season, he doesn't have anything else to his game.
no,
Now, when
but
I
like,
look at the likes of Saka, when I look at the likes of Salah, when I look at the likes of, you know,
yeah, but like,
Sterling. Hold on, let me finish. When you look
no,
at the likes of those
why
players,
were
even though
people,
like
where was this talk? I used to hear a lot of people bigging up Rashford. I used to hear all this Rashford big up. All of a sudden, it's gone. Oh, my United fans don't rate Rashford no.
listen, initially a lot of people did back Rashford, but come on, bro, like you've been at
I
the
back,
club for
I
like
back,
8 seasons.
I back Rashford, but like but with what you're saying, I agree, because I agree with what you're saying, but like, there's just different players. Like, it's the same argument that people have that are Martinelli and Saka. Martinelli and Saka are two different type of players. Saka is a creative type of winger who's strong, who has a lot to his game. Martinelli is an in behind, more finisher type winger who needs supply, who is in the final moments more a transition killer. Rashford similar to like a player like Son. Like, I don't think Son is a great footballer. Give him the ball and a touchline winger, but if you give Son a ball in behind and he gets 1v1, I trust that he's gonna score that chance 9 times out. At the end of the day, them goals that he scores is gonna win you games if he was playing for a good team. That's not Tottenham, innit? But I'm not trying to here to glaze over Rashford, innit? Like, you might be have to
No.
go, but the problem is getting rid of all of those players has to happen under a coach that you know is going to take this team forward. Because as you're saying, it has to be a coach that's going to shift that culture in United, like, because with what Steph is saying. But with Ten Hag, we know you just said it. Like, the coach doesn't come out. He doesn't, like, I remember with Arteta. Arteta never. The reason why I bought with Arteta even when we was in the mud was that when we was playing shit, he wasn't coming out and saying, "Oh, we had 2-3 chances that Lacazette could have scored, and the referee didn't give us this foul." He was saying we were dead. The other team was better than us. Like, we didn't defend well. We were dead in our box. We didn't take our chances, so we deserve to lose. Like, I love that, because yeah, cool, we could have won, but we're not playing good. The players are not good. Like, don't come and then when we're playing, when we beat Man City or we draw against Liverpool, he's gonna be like, no, yeah, that was a good game, but we're way far away from these teams. Like, he's not, like, Ten Hag will be saying, oh yeah, we're the second best team. Like, that's not a manager that you should be keeping faith in. So my question to you, Keyshawn, is when how bad does it get this season, or when do you say I need him gone? Because you have to remember, I think what Steph is saying is, with you guys signing all these players like Delict, Mazraoui, Euro, Zertsky, Agate, and obviously with the signings you have before, you have a good squad in it, in my opinion. But you're signing players, isn't it? You haven't won the league for over 10 years now, innit? And no one's saying you're going to win the league next year, but at some point, you can't just continue this mediocrity, even if you're trying to change the background of your team. Like, in the off the pitch, stuff on the pitch still has to be better. If you guys lose every game or lose your next 3 games, yeah, okay, cool. Ineos are fixing the training grounds and they're sorting out the wage bill and they're thinking about, okay, next year we're going to get rid of Rashford and Maguire. But right now, you're not going to finish in Champions League, which is going to restrict your spending next summer. You have to think about these things. Like,
I mean, you can't talk about Spain and United. We don't need Champions League
no,
to
I
spend
know, no,
money.
but I'm saying in terms of Okay, that's fine, but you're now telling me that you're satisfied with just coming
No,
eighth,
listen, we
fifth
have
to eighth, and then second, maybe.
the next three games in the Prem is Southampton, Palace, and Spurs. If we don't pick up 9 points in those three games, then I'd sack Ten Hag.
So that's why. That's the. That's what I'm
we
asking.
also add Villa in there as well. You have Villa away as well.
That's
So
what I'm
Yeah.
asking, coach.
I'm looking at the three
I
games
want to
because
know. I want
we
to know.
lost to Palace last season down at their stadium, right? I
Yeah.
don't remember if they did beat us at Old Trafford, but I'm just saying, like, bro, if you lose to Southampton, that's like shameless. If you lose to Palace, like that's another L, like that's a big L, especially with Olise like moving like to Bayern. And if you lose to Spurs, like I know that Spurs is a good team, but still, like, come on, bro, like.
You should be compete. You should be that. You guys should be
Yeah,
happy.
after having so many signings, like I don't want to hear like, "Oh, you're not Harry Potter." Like, bro, I know that you're not Harry Potter. You're a fucking manager. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. That like there's a risk because no, I'm not here trying to grill you and say Ineos made a bad decision by keeping Ten Hag. I'm saying I understand the reasons why they done it, but there's a risk with every choice that you make in it, and it's like, okay, cool. Yes, keeping the consistency and keeping a manager that knows the club and all these stuff, but he's clearly has no style of play and he doesn't take ownership in the press conferences to say, okay, because clearly he doesn't have a style of play. Like I feel like he just goes out there and now that you're buying better players, he's expecting these just good players to you have a player like Bruno who knows how to create a lot of chances, and you have a lot of runners, and you have a guy like Kobe Mano who's inventive, and you have, do you know what I mean? That it's not like you have a system where plugging this player, plugging that player, they're doing the same role both defensively and offensively. So it's like let this guy go and get another guy that can at least implement something, even if it's an ideology. No one's saying you're going to win the league by it, but at least there's a level of consistency. So when you're buying players or when you're having to sell players, you know, okay, this manager wants to play like this, so maybe we don't need a Maguire, or we don't need a Rashford because we don't need that type of wing, or we do need a Rashford, or we do need a Maguire, but we need to get rid of. Do you know what I mean? Like right now, you're just playing. Like, I just look at United and hey, I want you guys to win against Southampton, beat Spurs. I want you to have that little glimmer of faith. Keep this guy around because I am happy because you guys are gonna be failures as long as guys.
Listen, I just want to express publicly that
Before you go in, Chelsea big up guys, Man United fan here. Erik Ten Hag should have been sacked after losing 7-0 to our biggest rivals.
I mean, listen, I just want to publicly express that I am Erik Ten Hag out. You know, like I didn't normally like express it. Even last season I was, but it wasn't like I had like emotions surrounding it. It was more like, okay, I want this manager to leave. But no, I'm at the stage where like I feel like I'm an advocate for like saying Erik Ten Hag out because that's where I'm at right now. You know what I'm saying?
Because like, how many times did I talk to you last season and you were so numb towards football because of this team? I feel like you have a glimmer of faith. Obviously, you won the FA Cup and we didn't win the trophy. So
Bro,
it's nice.
even winning the FA Cup like was not glimmer of faith. I told people like, bro, Man City were drunk. Like United,
Yeah,
people
100%.
look at the football game and like, oh, we played well. Like, I mean, fair enough. If you pass the ball good and you score a goal and create chances, you play well. But bro, 9 times out of 10, City's beating United. They literally just won the Premier. Like it was a quadruple. Well, not quadruple, but 4 times in a row, right? You know what I'm saying, bro? Like the niggas were drunk.
But
Sorry for using that word, but yeah.
most United,
Well, you know YouTube. Yeah. I don't think they're anything, but still.
most United fans were happy because Arsenal didn't win a trophy. So because you guys won a trophy and FA Cup is a respectable trophy, it was like you man did all of this and you were the best team in the league, but you came with nothing and we left the satin and then obviously because you had the new ownership and it was like, oh my god, like we're seeing some signs of things that we haven't seen, and then you guys started spending money in the summer, and I think you had a good window. It was like you man are coming in with just last season was just a blip because of injuries all of a sudden. It wasn't because this manager wasn't good, and you're entering the season with some chest. I'm like, fam, it doesn't matter even if you sign Messi himself. You think you're gonna be good, like as long as that you guys are not getting it. Like,
and to be honest, right, when I normally like mention the FA Cup to you guys, it's just like banter, but I don't really I care for the FA Cup. But like when you have like a horrible season like that, like obviously like it's a 2-day trophy to like celebrate. But I watched the game and people are like, okay, yeah, we'll beat City. But they were drunk. Even the Community Shield people were telling me like, I didn't watch the Community Shield final, but people were like, oh, they're promising signs. I'm like, bro, there ain't no promising signs in this shit, man. I even watched the game. Like, I don't care. It's Man City. Like, Man City makes you play good if they want to. The only team like I can generally say like, I can give Man City a challenge in a game is like Arsenal or Liverpool. But like, bro, if City want to turn United over, they can easily do that. You know what I'm saying?
and it's like in a one-off game. I will say this, like, fam, when Arsenal were bad, like in a one-off game, I'm not saying a one-off game, you do what you got to do to get to a final, but in a one-off game where winner takes all, Like, of course, players are gonna play good. Of course, like a manager's gonna put a more motivating
I
speech. Of
wouldn't even
course,
say that they nearly lost to Coventry.
that's what I'm
They
saying.
Mhm.
nearly
But I'm
lost
saying
to Coventry, bro.
well, of course,
Yeah.
when you get there, like like, and obviously, who has more to gain by winning the FA Cup in that on that game? City had already won the league. Okay, they could have got a double, but who cares? And as you said, they're drunk. They probably celebrated getting the 4P. And United
And
had a shit season, and it was like we
to be
couldn't make.
honest, like I don't even think like winning the FA Cup, United gained anything from it. Like it's not going to like turn the tide for us. Like sometimes clubs when I look at the trophy and then everything changes in terms of like the culture of the club, and then they go on to like try to like challenge all the big trophies. That's not going to happen for United. You know what I'm saying?
That's why you guys, as much as I understand you, man, are trying to be a bit more positive because you're seeing a bit more positivity in your club because obviously you've had the Glazers and no real structure that has tried to implement getting you guys back to your glory days where United should be. Like you guys hovering between third and seventh for years to come is shit, man. Let's be honest. Sorry for my language. Like it's no, let's
Yeah.
not call it spade a spade. Like the reason why I'm saying I'm not talking like chess because Arsenal haven't won nothing, and I don't need us to win anything to say it. When Arsenal are dead and we've been dead for years, yeah, it's nice to win FA Cup. Yeah, it's nice to have some players that you like. But
Go
when you're
straight
looking
back
at
home.
teams that are just way better than you consistently
Mhm.
year after year, competing for titles, Champions League, playing the best of nights, being able to recruit the best of players, you're seeing a style of football, like you're looking at your club and it's just
And and
like
and to be honest, like I think like I'd rather be in Arsenal's position in terms of like challenging City for the title rather than like finishing eighth and winning the FA Cup. And
yeah,
I listen to League One a lot of times, and like League One is like, oh, like I'd rather even be like, this is like a bit extreme. He hasn't said this, but League One is the type of person where like he'd rather get relegated and win an FA Cup because he's gonna go down as he wins a trophy, but still you get relegated. You know what I'm saying? Like,
most because obviously as I said, I've become a guy that I don't judge how people what I realize different people are different type of fans in it. Most
Mhm.
most Arsenal fans, the reason why people on the TL today are like, oh, the guy's injured, our title was done, or top four race, or this is why is because guys are so eager to want to win these trophies that when it looks like you're not gonna get what you want, they go
Start
helter
panicking.
skelter, they start
Mhm.
going to the extremes. Like end of the day, like you have to realize you want your club to be a club that is there to win the trophies for the foreseeable future, not an era, not a 5, 6, 2 year era. You want to be there for 20 years. Like look at teams like
Mhm.
Real Madrid and even Barcelona in their league. They're not like they've had the 20-year periods where they go for a drought. Like so, at the end of the day, when you're to go from eighth to first is in a league where you have a team like Man City that are the best team in the league and possibly whether they cheated to get there, not cheated to get there, they've got the best
Yeah.
coach, the best players. Like
Mhm.
I'm like it's hard to just all of a sudden get there and overshadow them by going from eighth there without some level of a process in it. Which is why
Mhm.
I'm saying, in terms of Ineos, if they knew that okay, the FA Cup is nice, but we're not here. Okay, yes, it's a nice day, and I'm not disrespecting it, but we're not here to win the FA Cup. So we've seen, okay, we weren't here, but we've seen this manager shit. Okay, we don't have the best manager we want on the market, but okay, we're gonna get Van Nistelrooy and give him a 1 year whilst we scan the market for a real manager. Let this
Mhm.
guy at least get some kind of, build some stepping stones. And if he does well, maybe we extend him. If he doesn't, then we know we're gonna get a Tuchel next year or Poch or whoever in it, maybe the next best young manager. But we're not gonna run with Ten Hag because why were you gonna act like because you give him new shiny toys, all of a sudden he's gonna get
yeah.
it smelling, get it right? No,
Like you
like
said,
that's why I said
Cho says before you guys go on, Cho says Eric Ten Hag spent 616 million pounds in 3 years, and we've been shit under Eric Ten Hag equals embarrassing. Presser and KP go back through.
yeah, that's me still. But like at least Presser has come out and said he's not saying he's taking the hard out and he's like hating on the manager. I feel like you love your club and you're seeing that things are changing, but
No,
it's like
I think I'm at the point where like I can't say this publicly. I'm not going to say it in detail though. There's one other individual that I've actually like had like a personal hate for in my life.
Oh,
he
Huh?
said he's not gonna say it
oh,
publicly still.
It was
he's not
like,
gonna say
well,
public.
I'm gonna say it. It was like
I don't
it
know,
was
man.
like a
Oh,
relationship. It was like a relationship, but nothing like a relationship like a girl for me. It was just
mm,
like a family member, and I
mm,
like hated that person. It took me a while to like actually like stop like feeling that hatred. But no, I'm at the stage where like with Eric Ten Hag, I personally hate the guy. Listen, the only reason
so,
my camera is off right now is because the lights. I'm just like take off my I just took off my glasses. But honestly, bro, like Eric Ten Hag, if I saw that guy on the road, like I would punch him up. I'm telling you, I would get aggressive. I'm like, yo, bro, get the my club, yo, like get the you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
bro, like that's the stage. So like, listen, I've never really been impressed with Eric Ten Hag even from the get-go. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't really express it because I didn't have any reason. But the more he would have said stupid stuff after games, then the more like I would grow that like hate for him. You know what I'm saying?
A
Or that
guy
like
that
displeasure.
a guy that pushed your club to spend 90 million on Anthony alone. That should
Bro,
be
like the sign, like
like,
you know, we can get into the signings and
but,
stuff.
but
Bro, at least with Mourinho and these guys, like Mourinho wasn't even like properly backed. I remember when United finished
yeah,
like over 10 points behind City, and they go into the window and give him like Diego Dallo and like Fred. Like, come on, bro, like that's disrespectful to the manager. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like even Ole to an extent, like wasn't backed in the sense that Ole
yeah.
didn't get like a lot of the players that he wanted. You know what I'm saying? Eric Ten
Yeah,
Hag
like
has
players that he
gotten the
scouted.
players.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like Erik Ten Hag has gotten players that he has wanted, and even under the Glazers as well, bro. Not within years only, but with the Glazers because majority of the spending came under the Glazers, and every player is basically handpicked by him. No other manager before or after Sir Alex Ferguson can say that,
Yeah.
you know.
So
But that's it
let's
with
see.
Erik Ten Hag.
As I said, it's
I,
free game. It's free game. Sorry, Steph. Sorry, Steph.
but before we move on, before we really wrap up and close out the show, I do want to ask Presser one more question about Eric Ten Hag, and it is relation to when do you sack him? Because I know KP has gotten to the point where how much more do you have to see of this to change? And I know you was talking about the market, and that is a very valuable thing to say. And because I don't really look at the market and see anyone out there that's of pedigree and of quality to come in that will really instantly change you guys. But
Listen,
next couple of games are Southampton away, Palace away. They have Spurs at home and Villa in between some Europa League games, if that will matter for his future as well, if he loses them as well. How long do you think he will get sacked before that? Before the next upcoming not transfer window, international break at the end of October?
the last time Ole got sacked was, or the last time manager got sacked was in like November for United, I believe. October, November. Mourinho was like October, November in that era. So that's where you tend to find where some of these managers get sacked, or for the ones at United at least. I think David Moyes was quite a bit early as well, or if not in the same period or close to December. But for me, listen, if he doesn't get 9 points out of the next 3 games, then for me it's a sacking. You know what I'm
So you
saying?
think
Especially like lose.
so you say even if he drops points in any of those games, he should be
Yep.
sacked.
Even if he gets like 6 out of 9, still suck.
Okay, what about
So
what about what about?
if he beats Southampton, Palace, and loses to Spurs potentially, he should be sacked.
Mhm.
What were you gonna say,
Yep.
KP?
Wait. So you're saying if he loses any one of the three, so even if he loses to
Oh,
Spurs and it's a close game, 3-2 or whatever, you're gonna sack him because he lost to
Yep.
Spurs.
But he's just not good enough.
Okay, so then
Like
then
what
then
is the
but then
expectation? Like what is the expectation of United fans this season to what? Like
so that
win
means you
a
should sack
Carabao
him
Cup?
now.
no, so obviously, but I know we don't want to waffle, but that's why I ask. So then why did Ineos let this guy stay? Like if you
Yes,
already know that
I
you're gonna sack him 10 games or 3 games, 4 games,
yeah,
season,
but
like
I'm
that
thinking
makes
like
no sense.
Ineos was like, okay, it's a new page. Normally, bro, like
No, but then if you're telling me why should United fans come into the season expecting anything different? Why should Ineos come into the season expecting anything different? Because they've given him a bit more tools when
remember at the
clearly
end of the
showed.
day, Eric Ten Hag would have spoken to them. He would have presented what he can do. They give him the signings, and they're like, okay, this is your first couple games that we need to see something in. Remember,
But do
you remember
you don't think they could have done that
No,
with any
hold on,
other
hold on.
manager?
Remember, Ratcliffe was stressing style of play. The big heads at United, they've been stressing style of play. So they want to see that from the team. And even against City, people are like, oh, in the community sheet, people are like, oh, we finally see like an identity. I didn't watch the game, but I know that there's no identity.
No
You know what I'm saying?
But that's what I'm saying. But like, if you know that, then it's like just because you give him better players, yeah, the overall quality will improve because there's better players on the pitch in it. So it's not like these guys don't know how to play football, but the style of play is not necessarily going to improve just because you have better players on there. Because the guy clearly hasn't shown how to prove any style of play. So why couldn't you have got like you basically are cheating yourselves because you could have even if okay cool there's no certified manager. That's what I'm saying you could have got a guy in a year contract. Vinistro is here for a reason. Like Vinistro is a first team coach. That's not a secondary coach. Let's be serious right now. But he's there because United know that's our safety card. That we don't need to go into the market because we have a guy that we
Yeah.
know
I think
knows.
he'd be a good I
And
think
I
he'd
think
be a good
and
interim if
why not
you know,
say Why not sack Ten Hag in the summer? Let Van Nistelrooy have the preseason to implement his stuff. Work with these new players that you're going to sign and develop the relationships as a first team coach, and then tell him like we need to see Salah play for 1 year, or we're gonna try. Do you know what I mean, like why the hell are you going to Ten Hag and then you're gonna waste
Yeah.
already start your season negative, and then you have to work your way up
Yeah.
again.
I mean, that's a question that many folks are asking. So why they didn't sack him, but. Personally, I don't have the answer for that in terms of like.
Yeah. I'm not asking you. I'm just saying that like you guys have to be balanced in terms of I understand what they're saying, but it's just like
But that's it with Ten Hag. But I think he'll get sacked soon. But let's finish up in terms of Ballon d'Or listing, right? You want to say something, Steph?
Oh yeah, no, I was definitely I wanted to talk about the Ballon d'Or quickly before I move on. The Ballon d'Or list is out, ladies and gentlemen. I could list off the names for you. Just let me get them for a second. But one of the big omissions right now is no Mohamed Salah, who has been performing in the Premier League for year upon year upon year, and a lot of people have been saying he's snubbed from the Ballon d'Or list. First of all, Press, I could come back to you. What do you think about Mohamed Salah not making it, and what do you think about the Ballon d'Or list this year? No Messi and Ronaldo, obviously, as well.
Oh, that's for me.
Yeah, wait.
Messi and Ronaldo, I expected it, to be honest. One playing in MLS and one playing in the Saudi league. I don't think that's a good like era of like qualification to say that you should be nominated for the Ballon d'Or, right? In terms of Salah, 18 goals in the Premier last season, 10 assists. I think Liverpool. How much did they finish? They finished outside of the top 4? No, they finished in the top 4, right? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he was snubbed, to be honest, because I think the thing is like even with Marcus Rashford, like when it comes down to goal scoring and assist, like they're like I measure goal scoring in football and assist in terms of like how I would measure like the quarters in NBA and like the scoring of like field goal percentages, etc., and like how many 3-point shots you take or how many shots you put up. In the sense that like a player can play in the first half of an NBA game and they have 30 points. But when it comes on to the second half and like the fourth quarter in terms of closing out, they're breaking every shot. They're like 1 from 10. So it looks like he had a good game with the 30 points when the game finishes. But when you look at the fourth quarter, the third quarter, where it's crucial as well for you to step up, he's nowhere to be seen because he's like 1 from 10 at the field goal line or whatever the case is, shooting maybe 33% or some low percentages from the field goal. So when it comes on to football, I judge it just like that in the sense that you have players that will score like a volume of goals in like the first half of the season, and then every goal or assist is also spaced out. So when the season finishes, it's like, okay, 18 goals, that's a wonderful season. But when you look at the whole like season, like when you was supposed to step up, or you look at the poor games he had, nobody talks about that. Everybody just focuses on like the 18 goals. I think despite the fact that Salah had 18 goals and 10 assists last season, I don't think he was the best season. So I don't think he was a snub for the Ballon d'Or nomination.
And I think as well, like recency, I think following on Keishan's point, recency is what lives in people's minds a lot. Like, so a lot of people remember like Cole Palmer's run at the end of the season. Obviously, he's been playing good this season. A lot of people are going to remember Odegaard from January to the end of the season, but like not Odegaard from August to December, where maybe he wasn't as influential. And with Salah, I think he got injured in AFCON, and he was injured for quite a long time. Second half of the season, and it's like in the end, Liverpool fell off of the title race when they were top of the league, and Salah was missing for a long period. And it's not like when he came back, he was like, I'm not saying he was bad, but it wasn't like he was booming and doing anything that people were gonna remember anyway. So yeah.
But I'll say this: when you have players like Ademola Lookman, yes, I know he scored a hat trick in your final, but did he really have a better season than Mohamed Salah? To be honest, you can also
because
there's certain players on here I'm looking at.
I think you got to put Ademola Lookman there though.
I mean, I'm not saying Ademola Lookman is a bad player, but Hakan Çalhanoğlu, and he had a good Euros. Dove Big, yes, he's top scorer in La Liga, but even watching him, he played for a pretty good Girona side. But again, you see the consistency of Mohamed Salah. For me, a player of that level, you see players get in the Ballon d'Or list just because of their name alone. Name alone, you sometimes used to carry a player on Ballon d'Or list, and I don't think Mohamed Salah had a drop off of a season to say, well, okay, he doesn't deserve. He was still one of the highest scorers in the league, still one of the best assist men in the league. Still played for a team that finished in the top 4. And I still think to this day he's one of the best wingers in the Premier League, and just his start to the season also shows that as well. So
He's the best
for
right
him,
winger.
Ballon d'Or is kind of like whoa.
But,
I
but
thought it was probably one of the
Yeah,
biggest.
but I think if you look at the list of who was selected, barring like Rodrigo, who I actually think was snubbed, um, I think most of those players on the list that actually had an influence both on club and the country, where Salah was not there for the Afghans due to injuries. Well, he was there initially with the injuries. And then even for Liverpool, like there were a lot of games that Salah played poorly in. There were a lot of games that Salah scored a goal, but he still played poor. There wasn't a strong influence for Liverpool surrounding Mohamed Salah last season. So I don't think it was an actual snub, to be honest. I think Rodrigo was snubbed.
was he?
I'm not saying, oh, put him over Saka, but, huh?
Rodrigo's not on the list.
No.
Now Rodrigo's not on the
Okay,
list. No,
so like that's a snub. But like with
Yeah,
Salah,
that's an actual snubbing for me.
like it's like for example, Salah looks like way more impactful this season. Obviously, 3 games in, and it's like there's players that had better seasons for their club. Like Ademola Lookman had a good season for Atalanta. It wasn't just the final, but in the final he scored a hat trick, which was the first hat trick to be scored in the final. Like you can't, no one, people are gonna remember that when they get to when
Yeah,
we'll be in September for the votes than Salah's start to the season, and then he didn't really do much at the end of the season. And I don't think it's a snub as well, because if Salah has a great season this season and Liverpool do well, he's gonna be in there. It's not like he's gonna get snubbed again. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like someone
I
like
mean,
Cole Palmer, if Cole Palmer doesn't have the same kind of season as last season, he's not going to be in the Ballon d'Or voting this season. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just
I
like
mean, to add as well, Steph. I mean, KP, both of you. I'm looking at the list. Grimaldo. He was a strong influence for Leverkusen last season, winning the German title. You know what I'm saying? Rudiger was a strong influence and a key player for Real Madrid last season. Lookman, nobody expected Atalanta to win the Europa League. They went on a good run. They destroyed Liverpool. They won it. Lautaro Martinez won. They won the Scudetto last season again, right? Yeah.
and he had a very excellent season.
Yeah, Mbappe. Bro, man, I don't know. The French league for me is like,
Mbappe had an excellent season as well. People,
yeah.
kind of,
But it's just like it's the French league is so like easy that you know what I'm saying, but still it's Mbappe. So yeah, Saliba, I think the best centre back in the world. He has to get in. Saka, wonderful season, one of the best right wingers in the world. He has to get in. Lamine Yamal, especially with what happened in the Europe, he has to get in as well.
That would be one thing I'd say. Lamine Yamal should be top 10. I am not trying to hear nothing about age. When you talk about someone that's been consistent, I mean, playing at the top level, went to the Euros, was my player of the Euros. Respectfully, they want to give him young player. I wanted to give it to Rodri. I wasn't for the bullshit. I said give Lamine Yamal player of the tournament. And to start the season with 4 assists in 3 games or 4 games to start the La Liga season, with I think 2 goals or a goal as well. Lamine Yamal, I've been telling people for a long time. This, what you saw in the Euros, no, this is him since he's burst onto the scene. This is Lamine Yamal, and this will continue. To be Yamal.
I don't think he's gonna get top 10.
I was looking. No, he has to be in the top 10. He has to be in the top 10.
Profile, they won't give him top 10. I'll give him top 10.
Messi and Ronaldo isn't there. Messi and Ronaldo isn't there. He has to get in the top 10. Like, come on.
But it's not about. But it's like, okay, cool. Quickly, I'm just looking at. I was just trying to think in my head. I'm like, okay, you're gonna have Vinny, Bellingham, Rodri, or in whatever order that they're gonna win that. Then you're gonna have Foden. You're gonna probably have Odegaard. You're gonna have potentially another City player. You're gonna have maybe Declan Rice or Saka. You're gonna have.
Yeah, but I think Lamine Yamal has done more than like a Odegaard and Declan Rice.
You're only looking at the Euros. Which
bro,
is,
he had a breakout season with Barcelona as well.
I know, but it wasn't like 20 goals and 50 and 13 assists. Like that's not like paint over the cracks. Like
but bro, when you win the Euros, like come on, you can't disqualify the Euros. Like that gives you the edge.
But then if you look at some other players that might have, okay, for example, some City players that have won the fifth league in a row, a continuation of the last season was treble. Real Madrid that won, was it a treble or
I did use the word influence. Lamine Yamal played 30-some games for Barcelona in the league. He had 5 goals, 5 assists. But when you go into the Euros at his tender age of 17 and you have that much of an influencer, like you're almost like the player of the tournament, that edges you over like the likes of Odegaard and Declan Rice, even though they had wonderful seasons. We're talking about the Euros, like it's one of the biggest trophies in world football.
I'm not denying what you're saying, and I'm not. I don't. If he's in the top 10, I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, why is he in the top 10? I'm just saying because he's 16, he's probably definitely gonna win the young boy trophy.
Yeah, they're definitely going to give him all those young awards.
Maybe he might get to, but I've seen the story in it. Like I'm saying, if he had if Barcelona, like this is how you get into the top 10, or even maybe he even breaks into the top 5. Like if he had a mad season, Barcelona won La Liga, he then had the mad Euros, he's definitely even top 5. Even though it's his first season, but it's like they're gonna look at it and say, obviously, I told you that Vinny or Rodri or Bellingham is gonna win the Ballon d'Or. Then you're gonna have Foden that's gonna be fourth. I promise you, Foden's gonna be fourth. He shouldn't, but he is. You're gonna have one of the Leverkusen players that are gonna be in top 10. You're gonna have somehow one of the Arsenal players. I think I just have a feeling because I'm just looking at like the season. Then you might have Lamine. Do you know what I mean? Because you might have.
That's that. I counted like 7 names potentially. That's still like room. There's three other spaces.
Because Rodri, but I'm saying I'm not even thinking about a Rudiger. I'm not thinking about a
So
I'm not thinking about a
But you know that those are
listen to this like
for
top
like
10, right? I'm gonna give you Steph. I'm gonna share my screen and you just put it up on the thing. I'm gonna give you my top 10, right? And I want to say this. I saw Vitania in the list, bro. Like I don't know how that guy got in, but I guess it's like there's a spot for young players. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Like there's
Haaland
a
as well. Oh, yeah, I forgot.
quota. But listen, it's on screen now, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So listen, so
Let's
you
go
have
for it. Jude.
Bellingham gets in, not in any
Yeah.
order, but top 10. So that's one.
Foden.
Foden,
Yeah,
2.
gets it.
Valverde, 3.
Haaland 4.
Haaland, 4.
Okay. Nico maybe, but no. Xhaka maybe, but no.
I think Xhaka gets in.
Tony Kroos he
Nah,
won
nah,
had
nah, 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 nah.
what? Are you
Nah.
crazy? He had a crazy Euros in his last Euros. Obviously, got
So
knocked out. But
let's start over. So Bellingham, Foden, Valverde, Haaland. I'm not putting
Four.
Cruz in. Xhaka,
You're not. We're putting. Okay, whatever. That's 5.
5.
Vinicius Junior.
Vinicius, 6.
Yeah.
Wirtz, 7.
Okay. Rodri.
Odegaard, Rodri, 8.
That's 9. Okay. You have
That's
Harry
8. No,
Kane.
8, 8.
Harry Kane. No, you said
Oh,
Odegaard
you know,
and
I
Rodri.
don't think. I mean,
You have
Yamal
Harry
gets in.
Kane who had a mad season for them. You had Bukayo
Yeah,
Saka. You easily put there
I
as
don't
well.
think maybe taking out Xhaka, but I don't think Lamine Yamal gets in. To be
I think
honest, maybe I don't think he
the
gets
Spain
in. To be honest,
representative in the top 10 is going to be Rodri because he obviously won
yeah.
the league. He
So
also
one
was
Spain.
influential.
You think there's only going to be one Spain
I think
representative?
you'll see both
And you know,
Nico
we
and
didn't even call Kylian Mbappe or William Saliba. It's gonna be a top. It's gonna be a tough top 10, to be
you
honest.
know why? Because it's one of those ones where, like, I'm saying maybe, like, I won't be surprised. It'll be 11, but it will be one of those ones where they consider a lot of things. It's the same reason why some players have been snubbed of a winning of Ballon d'Or. Some guys were even voted with some of the, like, I'm saying, some of the seasons Thierry Henry had. I'm like, fam, he wasn't even in the top 5 or top 10. And fam, this guy was nuts. It's just what is in people's minds, innit? But I think, as what you're saying, because of the Euros is the most fresh thing that's happened, and Lamar is hot property.
Yeah,
He might get in there still, but it's.
Well,
I think if Lamine Yamal gets in, then all Arsenal players don't get in.
Maybe, but all I know is once we get that chip at the end of the season, and we're looking at next year's Ballon d'Or. I don't mind. Hey, they can not give anyone anything. Don't get me wrong. I'll be annoyed, but hey, it's what it is. But yeah, Steph, what are you gonna say? I know probably.
Yes, guys. Thank you guys for watching. That will be the end of the video. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about Arsenal and their injury crisis and what's going into that. How will Arsenal line up for the North London derby? What do you think about Erik ten Hag? Will he be the first manager sacked this season? And also tell me in the comment section down below what do you think about the Ballon d'Or list. Who will win the Ballon d'Or? I think this is probably one of the first years in a long, long time. It's a toss-up between any. I mean, there's 3 players that everyone in around world football is talking about as the winners, but really and truly, out of those 3, we still don't know who will win it. And I hope Fabrizio Romano doesn't spoil it and tell us 2 days in advance. I really want it to left to be up to chance because I think it will be really, really interesting to see who wins this Ballon d'Or. So in the comment section down below, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Don't forget to subscribe to KP. Soon at 600 subscribers. He's been pushing. He's been dropping content consistently. So give KP a watch if you like anything Arsenal. And big up to 433 Presser, who has been working very hard covering the Jamaican national team as well as Premier League content in general. So if you guys like anything to do with any of our channels, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching. And thank you for all the time you've given us. Peace.
You guys see, man. Take care.
Do my Rashford celebration.